Welcome back to Wadachi, the most traumatic manga I've ever read. And today I have a guest.
How's it going, guys? Fleur?
I found Fleur on YouTube. He made a video on the same manga and I really liked it. So I asked him to join me in my part 2. So...
Yeah. As you already know, I have some questions written down. But before that, I want to cover some points. Firstly, Chiguro and the mountain. That leads us to chapter 87, right?
Yes.
Seichi, he wakes up in the middle of the night. It's like, I believe, 3 or 4 in the morning. And he decides, fuck it. And he goes outside, kind of takes it all in. And then, surprisingly, Shigeru comes out of nowhere, crawling on a busted leg, and he's like...
he walked all the way.
Yeah,
See, I thought it was going to be a dream sequence.
Same.
Not only because Shigeru did the impossible and walked all the way there in the snow with a broken leg in the middle of the night, but he's like, oh, let's go to that cliff, and then they go, and then like Seichi basically gets possessed by a weird mom demon and pushes him, which I have to agree with you. I think it peaked before this, because when I was reading this I didn't feel anything.
I agree.
I felt like we were getting too convoluted with the psychology part, and it was kind of upsetting.
No, but I completely agree. Yeah, it was. I feel like chapter 88, I believe it was pretty much peak up until the last few pages. That like Seiko's, Seiko Demon Mom is like, wow, you think I'm the bad person? Nah, look at yourself.
Yeah.
Then it gets super convoluted. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I liked pretty much how it started and how it got to where it is was all like it was telling us everything non-chronologically. Like we were seeing it as it is, but out of order, so that we had to put the pieces together.
Exactly.
And now it's like. And I kind of liked where it was going to go. Like, oh, actually, Seichi told her to push him. He just didn't remember it because he was coping. Like, that does happen in psychology, especially to children. But, like, and the illustrations were really cool. But, like, I feel like that should have just been a dream where he kills Shigeru for real and then wakes up and it wasn't real.
Yeah,
but so then that changed the course of the rest of the story.
Yeah, but okay, so we can kind of like diverge a little bit to like kind of like our thoughts like right there, because personally for me, I thought that it was like the climax of a character arc in regards to Seichi. That Seichi, he's thinking all this stuff in his head, because you gotta keep in mind Shigeru is literally quoting Seiko. From like a moment of time you'd be unaware of, because he was still comatose. Yeah, he's quoting Seiko. And then like so personally for me, I would have just preferred that Chiguro wasn't there at all, right? That Chiguro wasn't there, that Seichi's having this kind of not I wouldn't say like a meltdown, but like kind of just like letting out all his trauma, and then let's say like by the end, he just wakes up, and it's like, oh, like it's kind of like, I would think that he'd be like born again, that he would have let go, or not let go. You can never forget about your trauma, but like move past it, and then to live his life with Fukushima. I would have much liked that it ended like that, and it was like a little bit of a time skip, i.e. Akanohana, and like let's say like Seichi and Fukushi, they're like college students or they're young adults and they're living their lives together. I would have much rather the manga had ended there, at least for me personally.
Yeah, I am a bigger fan of tragic stories, and I'm not saying this isn't tragic, but the way it's going is not what I expected. I didn't think we were going to get adult Seiichi who went to jail for killing Shigeru, and then his dad slowly dies, and then he has to go find his mother again. What I thought was going to happen, and I don't know if this is a perfect ending in my head or not, but this is what I was expecting, was now that she is put away, he was, yes, going to go to Fukishi and like be with her, and then something involving, I'm not going to say his mom broke out of prison or something, but like maybe went missing. Okay. And then even though like he was on the cusp of happiness with her, his mom ends up appearing and like murdering him.
Oh.
Because then it's like, it's one of those tragic stories where he almost got out of it. He almost had what he wanted. And the threat to his existence from the very beginning was the one that got him.
Not gonna lie, man, that's pretty good, man.
So basically, I'm writing my own version of the same. I'm kidding. No, I would. Have you seen anything after Seiichi gets arrested? Well, not arrested, but after the court part. I have not seen
anything after the trial ended.
Okay. Oh, okay. But you know about the time skip, right?
Now I do.
So, yeah, he's guilty, and like it cuts to when he's out of jail.
Oh my god, really?
The next time you pick it up, he's like 30 years old.
Damn, what?
Yeah, it was crazy, and he had like a smartphone, and it was like 2017, and I was like, what?
Okay, well, before you spoil me on anything else, I think it'd be a good time as any to just jump into the questions. And then you can take as long as you need, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my first question is, where you are currently at in Wadachi, what is your reception like? Is it good? Is it bad?
I think it's really good, but flawed. We've already discussed why it's flawed, but I think that it might surprise me. I don't want to tell you specifics because you're not caught up now.
I appreciate you.
The stuff revolving around his father as once he's an adult is like an iceberg, and we're only at the tip of it right now.
Okay.
And you'll know what I mean when you catch up, and I want you to tell me immediately once you do. Okay. But I won't say just because it's going in a different direction than I expect that it's bad. Okay. And we definitely, it's definitely like it lost the momentum a little bit after it peaked. Yeah. Which, all roller coasters tend to do so.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm hopeful for it. I think it'll surprise me.
The second question, right, is what is Tsushima trying to say within the story, aka the point of it all?
I think the main central theme is the impact of generational trauma. Because you could easily view this as just abusive parenting, which yes, it is. But what got us here? What happened to Seiko to make her the way she is to Seiichi? What was Seiko's family like to her? What was that like? And so forth and so on. It's a thought experiment to me. It's like, yeah, this is the result of something terrible, but I want to understand why.
No, I think I agree, because during the trial, she kind of goes off on like a schizo rant about like how she was raising Seiichi and wanted to love him the way that she was never loved. So that would imply that, yeah, she had a pretty rough childhood as well, which kind of goes in line with what you're saying about generational trauma, how just kind of like how, for example, I don't want to get like a little, well, I don't want to like say the word, but like let's say
let's just say maps.
Yeah, let's say maps. Okay, maps, generally, right, they get abused when they're younger, and then it's a vicious cycle,
Yeah, and there's clearly a weird sexual connection between Seiichi and his mother, which, and if it was done like in a distasteful way, like a lot of anime does, I would drop the series, but I feel like this one is really going into like Freudian psychoanalysis. And that is displayed in most of his interactions with Fukishi and his mother. Not those two together, but him and both of them. Yeah. And I feel like it's not just like a coming of age story. It's like it's just a psychology book unfolding into like the real world. And I'm intrigued by it, even if it's really weird. And I feel like as an adult, it's like, oh, I shouldn't even like, I shouldn't indulge in this. This manga is written in a way where it's like, this is the human brain, and I'm not gonna sexualize it in a way that's like, just like that it's wrong. It's more so like just raw and realistic.
I would agree. That is very raw. Like, for example, like an example. And I agree that like it's more like an exploration, right?
Yeah.
Because like, you know, for example, do you remember when I believe it was in chapter 11 that Fukushi comes to Seiichi's house and she has a letter for him, right?
Yeah.
And Fukushi leaves, and then Seiko, she sees the letter and it's like, hey, why don't we just rip it up? And then as she's ripping it up, it shows pieces of him also being ripped up, which is kind of symbolic of like her tearing away at himself, his own identity, that like he's just kind of forced into whatever she wants to do and not make decisions for himself.
Yeah. And then following that immediately, they lay in bed together, like almost like they're about to kiss. And it's bizarre. And it's supposed to feel bizarre because no one should feel like that's normal. But like, it's the stuff like that kind of like pulls some strings, and like, it's just weird. I think that it really explores the idea of kind of that metamorphosis of growing up, especially with psychological trauma that you don't understand.
So then this kind of goes into the third question, which is, when you had initially started Wadachi, what pulled you in?
Well, I'll be honest, I had known about the Shigeru falling off the cliff before I had got into it.
I assume you watched the iPad video, right?
The one video with 4 million views that about this manga. I can't find a single video about this manga with more views than like 10,000, except that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, and I was like, I need to read this, which is weird because I saw that video like 2 years ago, or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually pick it up and read it until 2 months ago or 3 months, whenever I made that video.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I thought the part in that video was like chapter 1. Like, this takes a long time to happen. It happened, 8 chapters in?
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
It is a slow burn, and I'm glad it is, because we get that glance into his life before everything went wrong.
Yeah.
Even though it actually went wrong before that. And it's like, everything seemed normal because they were just so... she asks him what he wants for breakfast every morning. She's always around him, and everything seems normal.
Yeah.
And then it slowly beads in that she is overbearing, and she will not leave him alone, and she doesn't let him make decisions. And Shigeru's always coming over because she invites him over, because I get the sense that she's afraid of him making friends because they might not be safe. Because mothers can be like that.
Agreed.
Even though Shigeru is one of those dangerous friends who gets him close to a cliff for fun and laughs at her for being overprotective.
Yeah.
And I liked the idea that what we saw in that chapter from Seiichi's perspective isn't actually what happened. Because now it's like, what if he did tell the police that he saw her push them, and then it turned out that was not what happened?
So do you believe that, do you think Seiichi did it then? Do you think it was like the opposite around, like reverse?
I think she did push him, but I think that because do you know the whole concept of the looking glass self?
I am familiar with just by name.
Okay, briefly explaining it, you see other people and you think that they think of you the way that you think of you from their perspective.
Okay.
So I think that she did push him, but she felt like it's what Seiichi wanted her to do.
Oh, okay.
And they illustrate that by him literally telling her to in a different chapter way after, which I don't think that's what happened. I don't think he straight up told her to do anything.
Yeah.
Especially because we're like at the peak of his like psychosis. Like, why would I think that that's the reliable narration?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that what it's trying to say is deep down, he kind of wanted Shigeru out of the picture.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And he couldn't cope with it because she knew that that's what he wanted. But now that it has happened, he is in shock and he's like trying to wipe his own memory. He has dissociated himself with the idea that he wanted Shigeru gone.
No, that's a great point because I believe also that Seiichi wanted it to happen, but he's trying to diss himself from that moment because he doesn't want to admit to himself that he was happy about it, or he was like relieved, because as we see, like, he kind of bullies him, you know. He fucking they play video games, he like punches him in the arm, you know. He's talking all that mess.
He insults his mother.
Yeah.
Which probably was the defining one for him. The fact that he insulted his mother.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing that gets him stuck this whole series. It's like, I will do anything to keep her approval of me. And it's like, he could have told the officer right after, like, yeah, my mom just pushed him, like, please arrest her now.
Yeah.
But what he was thinking was, I'm gonna lose my mother if I say something. And then it became, she basically was taking advantage of that for the remainder of the series because she had him in a chokehold. He can't handle losing me, and I could handle losing him, but I also can't, because even though I want to kill him sometimes, I will be a miserable wreck the moment he's gone. And I think that she just can't decide whether or not she wants him.
No, I agree.
Because, and I think it's that she doesn't actually want to be a mother. She just wants to be loved the way she never was. So when she realizes, like, I can't be responsible for this child, I just want someone to be there.
Which goes back to the whole generational abuse, you know? It
makes
sense, man.
So,
it makes sense. And
it's like that whole, like, argument about people who do evil things. It's like, they aren't necessarily a bad person by choice. They have been robbed of that self-control. But it doesn't excuse what they do either. So it's just a bad situation. A bad situation that the only thing we can do about it is prevent it going forward. I think that this show's understanding of psychology, paired with its illustrations, paired with its characters, is brilliant. But I do have a few expectations that I can't let go of, and that's, you couldn't have put Fukishi in the story just for her to disappear where she did and not ever come back.
I agree. So then, just to kind of like set it, right?
Yeah.
So for Wadachi, what chapter do you think got you invested, or was it just from the jump?
I think, I won't be able to number it, but let's see. Because I was invested the whole way through, but I think the parts where I was just absolutely hooked was the first time he ditches Fukishi to go back to his mom after running away from her for like 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
Because
they tried to have sex, right? Or Fukishi tried to have sex with him.
He panics and runs back to his mom, and my brain was, I was like internally screaming. I was like, You had it. You had her. You had what you needed. You were gonna run away with her. You got away from your mother, and you're going back. And it's like, I'm screaming at him, like I want him to change his mind. And he goes back to her, and she terrorizes him for what he did. And she strangles him, and he yells at her, "Why did you do it?" And she's like, "How dare you say that to me?" And like, I'm just like, why would you put yourself back in the situation? And then you have to think about the psychology. He's afraid to lose his mom more than anything else.
No, I agree.
And she is manipulative to the point where she will get what she wants because she knows what he wants.
No, I agree.
And she'll
then, like, the whole
make
thing
him
of,
sacrifice.
like, yeah, and like her, like kind of like making him like beg to come inside the house. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That like a dog,
right after that scene. Yeah. And she makes him promise to never talk to her again.
Yeah.
And then he tells her, "I'm never going to talk to you again, and I hate you." Which is like, that also was like, okay, I understand that you're not allowed to talk to her, but why would you say you hate her? And I just
salt to the wound. Yeah.
And it just like, it's things like that where like the author is really able to take my expectations and just punch me in the face with them.
Is there anything you don't like about Wadachi? If so, explain.
Let me think about that for a second.
Take your time.
I guess it's just the scene where Shigeru gets pushed the second time. I think that a huge thing that made me like feel bad for Shigeru was that after all that happened to him, he was still alive.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's a fate worse than death. Like, you're severely disabled, and you're never gonna live like the normal life that you had up until that point, and you're in miserable pain.
Exactly.
And it's like the woman that did this to you is walking around acting like it wasn't, like that it didn't happen, and you don't even know if and you don't even remember, like, you don't even know if he remembers at first. And it's just, that's tragedy, and tragedy is what gets the most of my attention. But like, to have him get pushed off again and die just feels kind of cheap.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I think that having him lived a full life and have him kind of acquire that humility and wisdom, he could have been a character that would have been around when Seiichi was an adult. And Seiichi could have probably had a very deep apology scene, just him and like Shigeru, but he'll never get to apologize because he murdered him.
No, I agree. Yeah, it is pretty disappointing, man.
And like, he could have, like, imagine if they had this dialogue where he's like, deep down, I wanted all that to happen, and I can't say sorry enough. Like, if we ever get that conversation, it's just gonna happen in his imagination.
Probably, yeah.
But like I don't know.
Himself, yeah.
I don't think that Shigeru should have died. I think he should have had to continue living in his condition that wasn't in his control. Yeah. Not that being in that condition is ever in your control, but like having the people that did it to you just almost got away with it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, especially if you're saying like there's like the time skip, then it's like, yeah, like, so Seiko was able to like live and suffer no consequences. For me, that sounds pretty bad, but I mean, I'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, that's right. She doesn't go to jail.
She doesn't know. Remember, like, she was at the trial
because she turned it on him and then was like, yeah, I actually only admitted to it because they were gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
And then they concluded there wasn't enough evidence, and then they let her go. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, for me personally, that's a little upsetting to hear. But yeah, we'll I guess we'll see. Yeah, because
I mean, let's turn the question on you. Other than what we talked about, is there anything else you dislike?
That I dislike. Hold on, let me think about it. Personally, like, a lot. Like, before, I would say that the story was more like realistic and artsy, but now it's just straight up artsy. Because, like, for example, when in the trial, in the midst of the trial,
when everything starts getting all distorted and weird.
Oh, I was actually fond of that. That was okay.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I thought I was actually really impressed with that. But like stuff like Seichi like body slamming his mom, which admittedly was pretty cool. When I saw that, I was like, yeah. But afterwards, when he's like on top of her, and like knowing that like one, the guy hasn't slept in days, and two, hasn't been eating, and is also surrounded by a bunch of people, and no one's doing anything, like until like the very end. It's like, for me, I was like, that kind of took me out of it, you know?
You would be surprised by the amount of strength a person can have even in a moment like that.
Oh, really?
You ever seen stories or like movies? Like I know movies are a bad example, but like when someone had been kidnapped or like tortured or starved or whatever,
yeah.
And after days of like dehydration, starvation, sleep deprivation,
Yeah.
like they end up with inhuman strength. All it takes is just a little bit of like hope of getting out of that, or like anger or adrenaline. Like the human body could do outrageous things.
Well,
but
I would have to agree, because there was like this this true story movie about this guy.
127 hours?
What's up?
Is it the here? Explain it.
Okay, it's like this guy, like I think he goes like rock climbing or whatever, like in the Grand Canyon.
127 hours. I knew it.
Yeah, come on. Smart guy.
No, I said it before you even said rock climbing. I'm like, oh, true story about this guy. It's 127 hours.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you really say it?
I did.
Oh my god.
Yes, guy, and that movie is... It's not a bad movie. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah, definitely hard to watch because, like,
Okay,
by
but
the
like
end, he just
stuff like that,
yeah.
And Life of Pi. That guy was stranded in the ocean with a lion.
Yeah.
It's yes, the human body can do amazing things when in like on the brink of death. Not that Seiichi was dying, but it doesn't matter how physically weak you are moments before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really loved the illustrations in that scene when he body slams his mom, like the way
that was pretty
the eyes, the lines going down his face, like everything.
Yeah, there's like a moment like where like Seiko is like still smiling, right? And Seiichi already has like his hands on her like dress, and then like the next panel, she's already on the ground. It's like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, what was I about to say? It totally just vanished. Wow. God damn, it's gone.
It'll come to you.
I am thinking, now that he's an adult, which was probably, hopefully planned all the way from the beginning, I want to see how all those things manifest themselves in him while he's no longer a child. Because he might be just like Seiko, and he might have a moment that pushes him over the edge once again, and it'll just be that repeating cycle, that generational trauma we were talking about.
Yeah.
But right now, I just want characters to return into the story, whether it's Seiko or Fukichi or both, because this narrative needs to come full circle eventually. There is a Junji Ito manga, short one, that actually reminds me a lot of this story, but it's actually more grim. I'm a huge fan of Junji Ito.
Oh man, okay.
I don't remember the title, but there was this girl that this older kid would bully at the playground. And he would like... No. She was the older girl, and she bullied this younger boy at the playground.
Okay.
And there were like... It went from mild bullying, like flicking him and all that, to like putting him in genuine danger. And there was a point where he had like fallen off of something because she like convinced him to climb it or whatever. I don't remember specifically. Yeah. But his mom moves away, and she doesn't see him for like 30 years. So she's explaining to her fiance, like way down the road, that when she was a kid, she was a total brat. She was this terrible person to this guy, and she just can't forgive herself for that. And her fiance is like, yeah, everyone was like that as a kid. You're okay. And then she meets the same boy that she bullied all those years ago, and he's like a very like well-dressed, wealthy man. And they go out and catch up, and she leaves her fiance to marry him, the boy she bullied as a kid.
Okay.
And it seems like a wholesome story, like, wow, I can't believe he like came back and forgave her for all that. You know what she does? You know what he does?
I guess to see where this is going.
He gets her pregnant. They have a baby. He disappears.
Okay.
She realized he came back for revenge. He made me leave my fiance and married me and got me pregnant as a huge revenge plot because I almost got him killed all those years ago. So you know what she does in the final panels?
What?
She dresses up like her young schoolgirl self and ties her hair in pigtails. And then the final panel is like her about to torment her son the way she tormented him.
Oh, now that sounds crazy. What?
That is grim. Like, that is dark.
I thought you were going to say something like that he like killed her or something. That's way more twisted.
No. Yeah, the fact that it was like all for revenge. Like, it was dark.
Junji Ito, yeah, I would say he's pretty great. It's been a while since, I think maybe the last story I've read from him was, you know, that one that there's like those holes in the earth or whatever? And then people like pass through it and they get like fucking stuck.
The Enigma of Kamigara Fault. Yes.
Oh wow, you got
such a good story.
Got it in your mind, man. Yeah.
That's one of the best like psychological horror stories ever.
Yeah, that's.
And I mean, crazy, yeah, man. They're really short and concise. He has really, really good ones. The Human Chair, The Long Dream, like all that stuff, just absolutely awesome. But for stuff like this, I want to get more into like family, like more suspenseful stuff, because Junji Ito stuff is amazing, but all the stories are rather short, except for like Uzumaki and like a couple others.
Oh no, I agree.
I do have a proposal for us though. Okay, I want to get more into manga, and I think that if we both read some more, like, because I'm guessing you're into the same type of manga I'm into, like the psychological horror stuff.
Oh, for sure.
I think that we can regularly collaborate on manga videos like this one.
For sure. We can talk about that after the call.
All right. Well, let's wrap up this video then.
Yeah, so thank you for everyone that stuck around up to those points. Thank you, Ethan, for having me on. And until next time, peace.